Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here, tweeting the 7-game NBA main slate on Monday. I hope you guys all had a great holiday weekend. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live streams for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. If you're unable to watch these YouTube videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. I will have a link down below. It's called the DK DFS Show. And if you're interested in signing up for premium content, I offer 2 different packages on patreon.com. More info down below. I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a player prop site where you can take over-under on fantasy points. You can take over-under on for basketball, straight-up points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made. For football, you can take over-under on passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards. You can pick 2 to 5 players and win up to 10x your money. Right now, I'm making this video pretty early Sunday night, so the NBA board for tomorrow is not up, but that will be up later tonight, early into tomorrow. And again, you can mix and match sports as well. So if you guys want to try it out, make sure to sign up and use my code, DKDFS. It is DKDFS, all one word. You get a 100% match up to $100. So basically a free $100 to play with on the site. And finally, as always, I want to thank you guys for your continued support in this YouTube channel, for all those that came in and checked out the Christmas Day live stream. Hope you guys, again, had a great weekend. And let's hope to start the week off strong here with this 7-game NBA slate. All right, so let's quickly take a look back up here from last night. So last night, just the night of all the blowouts, right? You had Derek White that played like 15 minutes tonight. I was actually extremely tilted about this. Banton played 23 minutes. They had an 8-man rotation. And your rookie point guard, you mean to tell me that he plays the least out of everyone? Look at that. Like, does that make any sense to anyone? I was just like looking at those minutes for Banton. I'm like, what are we doing here? I was expecting 35 to 40 minutes from Banton, and he plays 23. I know the game was a blowout, but again, he's your rookie point guard. He should be playing the most out of anyone. So that didn't make a ton of sense against Fee. Boucher lost some minutes due to the blowout. But again, the reason I was high on the Toronto guys is 8-man rotation. I actually originally had Luka Garza here. I had Garza and LeVert, but we did get that Sabonis was playing, so it wasn't as high on LeVert. So I pivoted down to Derek White, and I was just like, you know what, I'll just leave. Or I actually spent up from, once I pivoted down to White, I was thinking about leaving like $2,000 on the table, but I went up to Hernan Gomez. I think him and Luka Garza finished with a similar amount of points. Garza was about $2,000 cheaper. Dinwiddie was on pace for a pretty solid game. That game was a blowout. Kevin Love, blowout. Again, it was just the slate of the blowout. So I hope you guys got into the cash. Let's take a look at this is the Hall of Famer $2,000 entry. So you're going to see we'll go over some ownership here. Banton, 100% owned in high stakes. Chris Boucher, 100% owned in high stakes. Nikola Jokic, 100% owned in high stakes. Svi was 20%. Watanabe 30%. Diallo 40% ownership. Sadiq Bey 50%. Derek White 70%. He played 15. Like what? I know the game was a blowout, but how does he not play more than that? Hernan Gomez 90% owned. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty low scoring slate because of all of these blowouts tonight. But again, hope you guys had a great night, and let's talk about the 7-game slate. Oh, real quick, again, if you guys do enjoy, just make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Appreciate all the new viewers. Let's try to aim for 100 likes on this video. So let's start off on the Houston side. A couple pieces of news to keep an eye on. Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, they're both questionable. If they're both in, it's definitely going to take these guards out of play for me. The guards on the Houston side, the value out of play for me. If they're both out, then, guys like Eric Gordon and Amani Brooks become potential, value options. Amani Brooks' price is way down to 4.4, but those two would become playable. Like Josh Christopher has been getting some decent minutes. He would be a viable contrarian option as well. But if Green and Porter are both in, then I'm probably just going to stay away from these Houston guards. And we have to see if either of those guys would be on a limit. Christian Wood, so I do like the spot here for him against Charlotte. The only thing I do not like is the minutes. Now, sure, they've been involved in some blowouts, but even competitive games. Right now, he's only playing like 30 to 31 minutes a game. That's not going to get it done, right? Earlier in the season, he was playing 37, 38 minutes. So the minutes are down on him, but the matchup is fantastic. So kind of neutralizes him to make a decent option, but definitely not a must play. On the Charlotte side, so LaMelo Ball at 9.5K. Did only play 25 minutes, but they rode with a lot of the bench that made a run. So I think in a normal game, a competitive game, LaMelo probably plays low to mid 30s minutes, which at this price point in this matchup, I think he makes for a good option with Bridges out, with Martin out, with PJ Washington out. So they're relatively thin. The two wings in Hayward and Oubre both look like decent options. Maybe a small lean for me to Oubre over Hayward, but both these guys should get pretty solid minutes with Bridges and Washington out and Cody Martin out. And then Terry Rozier is only $6,000. He did play 35 minutes. He has a little bit of a lower floor, but he has a pretty high ceiling. So I think the main four guys here for Charlotte look pretty good. Other than that, Plumlee's at 4K. I think we get low 20s minutes from him, which makes him a fair value play. You're probably going to see some minutes from some decent minutes from Jalen McDaniels, who's played 27, 26, and 28 minutes the last 3 games. I think he's a pretty good value play. I'm thinking we get similar minutes, especially with Bridges out. So that's kind of where I'm at right now for Charlotte. Moving on to Chicago and Atlanta. So Lonzo Ball entered the health and safety protocols today, so he got ruled out. The big three in Levine, DeRozan, and Vucevic all still are relatively expensive, so none of those three are going to be must plays, but they're guys that the game says competitive do have upside in Levine, DeRozan, and Vooch. Kobe White started the game for Lonzo Ball. I want to see how many minutes he ends up with. He started pretty slow, but if he starts again and is only 4.1K, I do think he makes for a decent value option. Probably wouldn't get to the likes of like DeSumo, Green, Troy Brown. There's probably going to be better value that opens up there. Moving on to Atlanta. So Atlanta looks like they're going to be pretty thin once again. No Trey, no Collins, no Herter, no Gallinari, no Hunter, no Johnson, no TLC, no Okongwu, no Lou Williams, no Cooper, no Hill, no Mundo. There's a lot of guys out. So you have the two bigs, and John Collins out as well. If I didn't mention that, I think I did. But yeah, so they are even more shorthanded than they were previous slate. Capella at 8.3K with no John Collins against a big front court in Chicago. He might have to play all the minutes he can handle. Like we might see 35 plus minutes from Clint Capella. So I think he makes for a good tournament play. But yeah, with no Collins now, you're gonna have like Reddish, DeLon Wright, and Bogdanovich leading this offense. I like all three a good amount. Bogdanovich was a little bit disappointing on Christmas, but he also shot 2 of 12. He played 36 minutes. DeLon Wright, to no surprise, I played him here. Didn't do a ton. Played him here. Was a letdown. Finally faded. 8 of 13. 3 steals and a block and an absolute smash. So was pretty tilted about that. And then, yeah, Cam Reddish should play big minutes as well. So those 3 guys I think look pretty good here for their price points. If the game says competitive, I'm expecting mid-30s minutes from all 3 of those guys. As far as the rest of Atlanta goes, I'm curious to see who they end up starting, right? Because last game it was Capella, Collins, Reddish, Wright, Bogdanovich. So, like, who starts for John Collins here, right? Do they go small and maybe throw Skylar Mays into the starting lineup? I don't think they would start Gorgie Jang and Clint Capella together. Like, maybe Lance Stevenson starts? I don't know. So, again, we'll keep an eye on the starting lineup there for Atlanta, but definitely a team that's shorthanded and definitely a team I'm interested in. Boston and Minnesota. So Boston's the team that's getting pretty healthy. Of Al Horford back. We have Schroeder is out. He's in the health and safety protocols. And Josh Richardson, I believe, is still in the health and safety protocols as well. So those two will be out as well as Enes Freedom. So Tatum, Brown at 10-4, 9.3K respectively. It is a really good matchup here, but they're more contrarian spend ups for me. So, yeah, they're viable, but no standout options there. Robert Williams was a guy I was all over once we got news that Al Horford is out, but now we have Horford coming back, so that should definitely limit the minutes of a guy like Robert Williams, plus his price is up, so neither big really stands out to me. I think Marcus Smart at 6'1" is a fine option. Like, he's going to play big minutes, but doesn't really stand out. The guy that I'm intrigued by here is Peyton Pritchard. Now, I do think the ownership's going to be up. He was someone I was very high on. In the Christmas slate, he came in a very low ownership and absolutely smashed 30 minutes, went for 35 fancy points. I'm thinking we get, low to mid 20s minutes off the bench, maybe a little more if he plays well. So I think he's a decent value play. He's been productive when he's been on the court. All right, on the Minnesota side, so Minnesota pretty thin here. No Cat, no D'Lo. I believe Ant-Man is still out as well. No Vanderbilt. Pat Beverly is questionable due to conditioning. He is removed from the health and safety protocol, so Minnesota team is super shorthanded this game, definitely has some blowout risk. But we'll start with Malik Beasley. So assuming everyone that is questionable or, is in the protocols is still out. Again, I think Ant-Man is still in the protocols as well. So Malik Beasley at 6'2" is going to lead this offense. He's probably going to play 40-ish minutes. So I think he looks good even at 6.2K. You have Pat Beverly, again, that if he ends up playing, I think is a good option, assuming no limitations. Naz Reid also just got put in the health and safety protocol, so he is out. So I'm guessing that Nathan Knight starts at 3.3K. If you guys played Summer League, one of the Summer League GOATs, or a guy that we used a lot. The Summer League team was him, it was McDaniels, and it was Jalen Noel that kind of dominated the usage there. And Nathan Knight's a good point per minute guy. He was on the end of the bench for Atlanta last year. When he got minutes, he was productive. So they just don't have any other options, right? They have no other bigs. So assuming Nathan Knight starts, I think he makes for a really, really good value. You have Noel that probably plays more, especially if Pat Beverly can't go. I think he looks like a decent option. McDaniels, if he can stay out of foul trouble, probably plays 40 minutes. The only concern is he is very prone to foul trouble. Now his price is way up. And even these end of the bench guys, I think you got to have some consideration for like a Jake Layman at 3.8. I think becomes in consideration. He played 36 minutes last game. McLaughlin might get a little more run if Pat Beverly's out. So yeah, this team is extremely shorthanded. So we'll keep an eye on news for Pat Beverly. Keep an eye if anyone else gets removed from the health and safety protocols. But yeah, and I'm also curious to see who they end up starting. But definitely a team like Atlanta where I think we can get some value. Moving on to Utah and San Antonio. So big news, Donovan Mitchell is going to be out for a couple weeks with a lower back strain. So that's pretty significant. It's going to make Mike Conley a really solid player in the mid-range. His minutes probably don't go up a ton. I think he plays 30 to 32 minutes, but his usage should go way up. And you have guys like Jordan Clarkson, who is going to get a little bit more run and looks better at 5.3K. You have these secondary options and guys like Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, Rudy Gay all look pretty good too. All three of these guys should get a little bit more run with Mitchell out and more usage. So Utah's a team, again, normally really fully healthy. I don't have much interest, but now that Donovan Mitchell's out, they're a team I'm definitely putting a lot of consideration into. So Conley, Clarkson, the value options all look pretty good, but Donovan Mitchell's role doesn't change much. He's still a guy that's going to stand around the 3-point line and shoot threes, but he's always playable. And Gobert at 9.1 feels a little bit pricey, so. Yeah, that's our map for Utah, guys. I think a team I definitely do like with Mitchell out. Moving on to the Spurs. So, assuming Derek White doesn't play 10 minutes tomorrow and this game can stay competitive, I think he's a really good play because with DeJounte Murray out, his usage goes way up. So, I do really like DeJounte Murray, even though Utah is known for having a tougher defense. I still think Derek White can have a solid game here. Pirtle at 6'4" against Gobert, it's does not stand out to me. Keldon Johnson, with DeJounte Murray out, does get a little bit of a bump as well, so I think he looks pretty good in the mid-range. The value for the Spurs and guys like Lonnie and Keita Bates-Diop, McDermott, Vassell, they're all playable for tournaments. You had Trey Jones play a lot more, but that was possibly due to the blowout. I'm just going to tell, I do not trust Greg Popovich. So, whatever you think is the smart thing to do, he's going to do the opposite. So, outside of Derek White and maybe Keldon Johnson, these guys are all just tournament plays for me because, what he'll probably do is just end up dusting off someone in the end of the bench, and the guy that you think will get more minutes ends up playing less somehow. That's always how it works for the Spurs. Moving on to Memphis and Phoenix. So, no Dylan Brooks, no D'Anthony Melton. I think John Moran, 8.8K, makes for a pretty good option. The game was a blowout tonight. But he's going to play most likely mid-30s minutes. So I do like Ja at that price. I don't think he'll be super popular. Triple J, always in play for tournaments. Again, prone to foul trouble. Desmond Bane's been really consistent this year. He had a solid game tonight. He's probably going to be one of their top options in offense outside of Ja Morant. So I think he's a fine secondary play for me. It's a bigger front court for Phoenix, so maybe this is a game where Steven Adams plays closer to that 30-minute mark, so I think he's a decent GBP play, but the minutes are never secure for him. They started Conchar, and assuming he starts again, I think he makes for a really solid value, so keep an eye on that starting lineup. Also, I think slow-mo Kyle Anderson gets more run at 4.8K with no Melton, no Brooks, so Memphis is a team I do like, and we'll monitor the starting lineup. But without Brooks and Melton, that's a good amount of minutes to go around. Moving on to Phoenix. So Devin Booker was a huge disappointment on Christmas. 5 of 19 shooting. Now the price has dropped $600, so I do like Booker a decent amount here for tournaments. the floor is low on him, but the ceiling is high. So a good tournament play, whereas Chris Paul, the ceiling may not be as high, but a little bit of a higher floor. So Chris Paul, maybe more of your cash play. Booker, your tournament option. DeAndre Ayton at 7-7 should play low 30s minutes. The price point, though, does not really stand out to me. And then the secondary options here, some of these guys are still kind of priced up. Cam Johnson's 4-6. I do expect with Jay Crowder to be out. I would think Cam Johnson starts. So he's the guy that if he does start, I think it makes for a decent value. And then if he ends up starting, then they're going to be a little bit thinner. So like maybe Campaign, maybe they run more 3 guard sets a little bit more. So then Campaign becomes viable as well. I don't think I would get to guy like Shamet, even though I do think he gets more run. He's just really not a good point per minute guy. So we'll monitor their starting lineup, but I would think Cam Johnson starts. If he does start, I think he makes for a safe value because I would expect 30 plus minutes from him. All right, Dallas and Portland. So Dallas still pretty short-handed here. No Luka, no Hardaway, no Kleber, no Bullock, no Trey Burke, no Cauley Stein, no McLaughlin, no Green, no Morier. So we'll start with Porzingis and Brunson, who are both in a really good spot here. I'm expecting mid-30s minutes for both. I'm pretty high on both these Dallas guys here. Again, love the spot against Portland. And these guys are just playing huge minutes right now. So both Brunson and Porzingis, I like a good amount here. Dorian Finney-Smith is back, so that's kind of going to take these secondary options out of play for me on the Dallas side. So yeah, guys like Sterling Brown, Ntilikina, with DFS back, these guys should see less minutes. So they're not completely out of play, but they're much riskier options with Dorian Finney-Smith back in this rotation. Dwight Powell's going to start and probably play low 20s minutes. I think he's a fair value play. Chris, was looking like he's out of the rotation. I'm not sure with Dorian Finney-Smith back if he ends up playing here. So I don't think I touch anyone else on the Dallas side. Moving on to Portland. So the big news is, again, so it's no CJ still, no Dennis Smith Jr., no Covington, no McLemore, no Cody Zeller, no Watford. And we have Damian Lillard questionable due to personal reasons. So this is huge news. If Damian Lillard plays, I like him as a spend up. If he misses, Anthony Simons most likely starts to the point and become a great value. And then it'll be a usage bump to the rest of these starters and guys like Nurkic, my boy. Norman Powell probably shoots the ball 30 plus times. Larry Nance has to play a little more. Nasir Little looks good either way at 4.2K. So I'll start with Nurkic, 6'9". Would look decent even if Lillard plays, but would look a little bit better if Lillard is out just because the offense would have to run through Nurkic more. So, always like Nurkic for tournaments. The only issue with him is foul risk right now. Norman Powell, again, he's just playing huge minutes. I expect 40-plus minutes from Norman Powell. The only downside with him is the price is up a bit. Larry Nance, without Covington, probably plays 30-plus minutes. He's a guy that can contribute in a lot of different ways and will play small ball 5 when Nurkic is not on the court. And yeah, Nasir Little at 4-2, I think it looks really good. 35, 30, and 36 minutes the last 3 games. Another guy that can contribute in a lot of different ways. So I like Little, good amount there for value. And then that's probably it for me. Like Tony Snell will get some minutes, but I'm just not playing Tony Snell, guys. All right, final game here. Brooklyn and the Clippers. So still no Kevin Durant. Again, my whole entire best ball team is in the health and safety protocols. So frustrating, but yeah, no Kyrie. So James Harden, once again, I think looks really good. He's my favorite spend up by far on the Christmas slate. He is once again my favorite spend up on the slate. He's going to play about 40 minutes, and he's just going to, have super high usage with those two off the court. So Harden looks great there at the top. Patty Mills had an amazing game on Christmas, went for 53 fantasy points. Now, it's kind of an outlier, but he's going to be the number 2 in offense when KD and Kyrie are out. Claxton at 4.9 did play 32 minutes. That's good to see. So I think he's a decent value, assuming we get similar minutes. The only downside there is potential for foul trouble. Blake Griffin was basically out of the rotation. Bruce Brown started. He played 37 minutes. I like Bruce Brown, assuming he starts again, because I think the minutes are pretty secure there. Bembry at 4.2 started, played 27 minutes. I think he's a fair value. And then I'll mention James Johnson off the bench, who should play, mid-20s minutes. He's a guy that can do it in a lot of different ways. I think he's another decent value play. And finally, the LA Clippers. So no Paul George, no Kawhi, no Reggie Jackson. The price points didn't really move in these guys. So like Bledsoe, Mann, and Kennard, I like all 3 quite a bit. That game recently just started. But these are 3 guys who are going to dominate the usage. Bledsoe going to play a lot at the point. I think he looks really good. Again, I'm curious to see how many minutes they play tonight. But these 3 all look good. Zubac, if he can stay out of foul trouble, probably plays 25 to 30 minutes. I think he's a decent GBP play. Batum started tonight. Again, I'm curious to see how many minutes he finishes with. But if he plays like 35 minutes tonight, I would feel a lot better about Batum for this slate. And then Serge Ibaka will play the backup 5 with Hartenstein out. I think he's a decent value. And if something happens to Zubac and gets in some foul trouble, Ibaka would have to play a little bit more. So Clippers are definitely a team I'm interested in. I'll mention Boston too. I think he probably plays mid-20s minutes off the bench. So a lot to like here for the Clippers. Very, very short-handed team. And it's a good matchup here against Brooklyn. So yeah, guys, that is going to do it for the video today. If you have been enjoying this free content, just make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Would greatly, greatly appreciate that, guys. Thanks again. Have a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow. I'll be doing a YouTube live stream tomorrow, so I'll see you guys all then.